Gordon Brown says that the two-child benefit cap is trapping families in poverty. We're going to read into this exclusive from iNews, you guys. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with an exclusive from iNews with the headline that Gordon Brown says that the two-child benefit cap is trapping families in poverty. In a rare intervention, the former Labour MP challenged Sir Keir Starmer's decision to keep the two-child limit and benefits cap. Guys, while you're here, make sure you hit the like button and share this across social media so others are notified of this video. So when I covered the budget on this channel live and the watch along of it, I like Gordon Brown and many people didn't really hold much. Well, I don't know about Gordon Brown at the time, but I did not hold much breath on the two-child benefit cap being removed. It is something that needs to go, despite even the fact that the majority of people do want it. And let me explain for those who think it's a good thing that we should keep the two-child benefit cap, why it's actually a bad thing. Now, this especially applies to those, especially if you're somebody who has a problem with immigration. If you have a problem with immigration, if you have a problem with too many people coming to the UK and taking part in work and contribution and whatnot, then pay attention to this bit, because I'm going to make this very, very clear. Now, if you want more so-called British people, white British people, I suppose, if you want to really go down that route. But if you really want to go down that route, we need obviously to an increased population, because guess what? Our population is in decline. We have less people making babies here. And one of the things that is holding people back from having more children is the two-child benefit cap. Because if they have more than 2 children, they won't get any more additional benefits from the government in doing so. So if you are somebody that believes that it should be a case of British jobs, all British jobs should be for British people, and that we shouldn't be relying on other workers from abroad, then you'll actually be somebody who will want the two-child benefit cap to go. Because then that way you will encourage more people to have babies, more have children. Because that's what you want, right? You want more British people, right? Don't you? So that's one very important point and caveat I want to point out there for them. I do believe that the two-child benefit cap, I talked about before, about perhaps raising it to like 3, 4, or 5 child cap or something like that, like raising the threshold instead of 2 to maybe 3 or 4 or 5 or something, like raise that number up. Like maybe if someone has like 5 children or so, then maybe that's like, okay, if you have any more than that, it's too much or something. Or even like, you know, like 3, why not 3 or 4? Like, why not raise the threshold instead? Like that's something, like if people generally think it's a good thing to have a cap on the benefits of how many kids people can have, then raise the threshold so that so it can at least increase our to try and stop the decline in our population birth rate in our birth rate here. Why not do it that way at least? Now, Regan, this will come at a cost. We have to pay more for it. Of course we have to pay for it. Since when does anything come free? Of course there's going to be a cost for it. There's always going to be a cost. But the other factor of all this as well is that this decision to continue the two-child cap is also detrimental, especially to those in child poverty. We have destitute poverty here in England in particular, which is absolutely disgusting, considering we are supposed to be so-called one of the wealthiest nations in the world. When you see all the wealth that the royal family and the monarchy holds, in comparison to people who are literally struggling to choose between heating and eating, some people who are, some kids who are not getting a belly full of food every single day, the struggle is incredibly real for them. It's not a life, it's a survival for some of the poorest families in England. Some of them are really struggling just to get by, relying on food banks, relying on handouts from charities to make it each day. That is the reality that many people are going through. And we should be helping them on their feet. They shouldn't have to have these desperate struggles to survive. It should not be that case. We should be doing everything and anything we can to help them. And this two-child cap is holding down a lot of those people who don't have a lot of money in their bank accounts, in their pockets. You know, it's holding them back, and it should be removed. And we don't want. I don't think anyone wants child poverty in any way, shape, or form. It shouldn't be happening at all. I think it's an absolute disgrace that we even have some kind of child poverty. And my general hope is that while the government at the moment aren't removing the two-child benefit cap, they are doing a review on child poverty. And there should be a statement, I believe, in the spring or autumn from the government on that. They are looking at a review of the situation. But unless we see a change in this, among other things, this government, its time in government will be ticking. So let's read into what he has to say here. So, Gordon Brown has suggested that the government should reconsider the two-child benefit cap because it is trapping families in poverty. The former Labour Prime Minister also said that the benefits cap, which limits the amount of money a household can receive from the state, is making people worse off. There's got to be a complete review of the child poverty policy, Brown told the Eye, adding that child poverty has become a far bigger problem than the pensioner poverty in the recent years. As a former Labour leader and Chancellor, Brown's comments will put further pressure on the new government, and Labour's position on the two-child benefit cap has led to anger in some quarters, with some backbench MPs who are on the left party voting to scrap the policy earlier on in Keir Starmer's premiership. The former Prime Minister was speaking at the opening of a new Multibank in Middlesbrough. It is the latest branch in a countrywide network launched by Brown to distribute items such as clothing, shoes, toiletries, hygiene products, home furnishing, children's toys and baby goods to families who are struggling to make ends meet. I hate these multi-banks. I understand that they are, and let me clarify why I hate them. I hate that we have to have these multi-banks to help people. I hate that we have to have them to try and get people the things and the products that they need to get to live a life. I hate that premise. It should not have to happen. It shouldn't need to happen. But that's the situation that many of them are in. It's wrong that people have to rely on charities and handouts. The problem is that the jobs and the income that they get is just not enough. Just not enough. Labour has already been criticised by poverty experts and charity for keeping the Conservatives' two-child benefit cap, which means that parents can only claim child tax credit or universal credit for 2 children. As well as the benefits cap, both policies were introduced by the former Chancellor George Osborne. Brown, who as Chancellor under Tony Blair introduced tax credits to support low-income families and widening access to child benefit, said the policies were responsible for the uptick in poverty among families with children. Since 2010, you have had a two-child rule. You've had the benefit cap, you've had housing benefits limits imposed. The series of deductions to people's benefits have become very widespread, so that half of people receiving benefits were having deductions. Brown said people were being made worse off at every point because of benefit deductions, as well as the freezing of child benefit. Since 2013, parents have received a reduced amount of child benefit once they earn over £50,000 a year. Scrapping the two-child benefit limit would lift between 250,000 and 300,000 children who are living in households which are below the poverty line and out of financial hardship, according to the independent think tank, the Resolution Foundation. Brown said he hoped that Labour's child poverty unit will look at the benefits and how they interact with child poverty. We need a complete review of the system, he said, and that's going to happen in the next few months. But in the meantime, you can't let children suffer. You've got to do something about it. Until the government publishes its own child poverty strategy in 2025, Brown says he hopes that his multi-bank initiative would bridge the gap between state support and the needs of low-income families, particularly in the run-up to Christmas. Brown added that multi-banks could help people make a better life for themselves by taking a holistic review of poverty and providing low-income families with everything they need, not just the basics. So just a reminder here, what is the two-child benefit cap for those who don't know? So the government says it will not scrap the two-child benefit cap despite growing pressures from campaigners and left-wing MPs. During the election this year, Sir Keir Starmer said it was a very difficult decision. MPs voted to reject an amendment to scrap the cap with a majority of 260 in July. The SNP amendment said in the King's speech it failed to include immediate measures to abolish the two-child benefit limit to universal credit. The SNP's proposal was backed by Plaid Cymru, the Green Party and other MPs, and including the now independent Labour leader Jeremy Corbyn. However, 363 MPs rejected the amendment in favour of scrapping the two-child benefit cap, with 103 voting in favour. Among those voting in favour were 7 MPs who were immediately suspended as a result of their action. The child benefit rate from an eldest or only child is £25.60 a week. The rate for any additional children is £16.95 a week per child. The two-child benefit limit means most families cannot claim means-tested benefits and tax credit for any additional children born after April 2017. Drawn up by the former Chancellor George Osborne during the years of austerity, it was designed to reduce public spending and encourage families to make decisions based on their financial circumstances. Some 420,000 families were affected by the two-child limit in 2023, according to the Resolution Foundation. When it is fully rolled out in 2035, it is set to affect around 750,000 families. The report also states scrapping the policy completely would cost $3.6 billion in today's pricing and take 490,000 children out of poverty. So nearly 500,000 children could be taken out of policy if the government could pull out £3.6 billion out of their pocket, which they can do if they want to. Families affected by the cap in 2023-24 lost up to $3,200 a year in benefit support for their third and each subsequent child. The women's budget group WBG, which describes itself as a feminist economics think tank, recently told the eye that the two-child limit on benefits was one of the key drivers of child poverty. I've said before I'm against their keeping the two-child benefit cap, and it infuriates me that we know it's one of the biggest stumbling blocks in child poverty here in England, and it should not be there. Like I said, if they were to increase the cap at least, that would help a lot of children to 3, 4, or 5, something like that, to help to give people. The majority of families would like to have 1 or 2 more children, and it would just would help reverse the birth rate issue that we also have in the country as well, because it is declining as a result as well. But yeah, I absolutely agree with Gordon Brown with what he's saying then on this situation, and hopefully there will be hopefully that they will look at a review on this and perhaps reconsider reversing the two-child cap at some point in the future. But as of right now, I'm afraid children will continue to suffer as a direct consequences of not removing the cap. So what do you guys think? What do you guys make of Gordon Brown's case? What do you think? What do you make of my case on the removal of the two-child benefit cap? If you are someone who has a problem with immigration, surely you wouldn't have a problem with wanting to increase the birth rate of British people in here as a direct result of moving the two-child benefit cap, right? Let me know your thoughts and more down in the comments section below. If you found this video informative, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media so others are notified of this video. If you haven't subscribed already, please consider subscribing because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further, financially support me and the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content on those platforms. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.